Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever matches wherever you're calling from. We're glad to have you with us again today. We are grateful that you're here, and we are happy that you're here again with us to continue as we explore growing your potential. So thank you very much for joining, and we hope that you find this meeting a blessing as you continue and lean in. Just a quick recap on what we have done so far. On day one, we started with the concept of intentionality. Day one, we looked at the concept of intentionality. And day two, we looked at the concept of self-awareness in growing our potential. Day three, we looked at the concept of environment, the importance of our environment in growing our potential. And today, we'll be considering the concept of modeling. The concept of modeling. If you look at the eagle learns to fly from the eagle. The eagle learns to fly from the mother eagle. And it's easy for the eagle to fly because it can see the mother eagle fly. It can see a model. It can see an example. It can see an example of its potential unleashed. That is, whatever you want to do in life, there is someone already that has done it or achieved it. If we're able to see that person and learn from that person, get coaching, get training, it becomes easy. Because you have seen a practical example of your potential unleashed. And that way, it's very, very easy to follow. It's hard. It's very, very hard to improve or to fly or to, unleash some potentials, except there is someone to follow. Except there is someone to follow. It's hard. It could be difficult. It could be challenging. And that's why it's very, very important to follow someone that has gone ahead, someone that has done it before, someone that has gone through a similar path in life. I'm going to tell you another story today. And it's the story of a lion. This lioness, gave birth to a cub. But this cub was one way or the other, neglected, and the lion ran and, ran away. So this cub was now, in the midst of sheep. Okay, the mother is gone, the parents are no longer there. So the sheep just came around, and and the little sheeps. And from that time, that cub did not know the lion, only knew the sheep. So the cub now followed the sheep, and they went together, and they began to eat the same thing, and they began to move, and they began to, they became friends. And this continued for a long while. And you know what? None of the characteristics of that lion, of that cub, was exhibited. Ate the same food like the sheep, behaved like the sheep, and gradually the sheep, now the cub now began to behave like the sheep, even though it was a cub. And after some time, the cub began to grow, but still behaves like the sheep and eats the same thing as the sheep. Until one day, the sheep and this cub, they were moving around in search for food and water. And anytime they see the lion roar, the sheep runs away. And this cub also runs away, thinking that, well, I'm just like the sheep. So until one day, this cub, having grown now, looked into the water and saw that, hey, this lion that these sheep are running away from, it seems like I look like that lion. And one day, that cub, now grown, now decided not to run. And then the lioness came around and picked it up and said, "Oh no, you are a lion. You are a lion." And until then, when the lion took the cub away and began to train it again to roar, those potential in it began to find expression. So all along, this cub had the same potential as that lion. But because all it saw around it in all its growing up years were just the sheep. So the cub, though loaded with potentials of a lion, behaved like a sheep, ate like a sheep, drank like a sheep, was fearful like a sheep. Because this is association from birth was just sheep everywhere. And that is the same with us. Though we have potentials, though we have these abilities, we need the model. We need someone that has gone ahead. We need someone that has been there. We need someone that has the full picture of what we want to do. Somebody that has gone that way before. Somebody that has gone that path before. To help us navigate that path. That, oh, I can also roar. Look at the lion roaring. I'm like the lion. I can roar. The cub only learned to bleat like a sheep and eat grass. Why? Because that's the only model. That's the only thing, the only example available to it. Yesterday I was talking about the eagle. If you have an eagle born among chickens. That's the only example it will have. And it's going to be just like that cob, even though having potential to roar, will not. Because there is no example. Today, we are considering that concept of modeling. Whatever potentials we've got, whatever gifts we've got, it's going to be hard if we don't have examples to follow. If we don't have someone that has gone that path to encourage us, to strengthen us, to show us possibilities, that, oh yes, it's possible to fly. The eagles might have wings and not know what to do with it. But when he sees an eagle flying, and when he sees a mother eagle saying, oh, you have to fly, he can see, yes, this is a possibility because somebody already is doing it. I can see it done. I'm going to get encouragement to do it. Many people are lions, but all they have seen, the only possibility they have seen is the life of a sheep. So all their abilities, all their potential have just become dormant. Why? Because they have no visual expression of the possibilities of the things that has been deposited in them. That's why so many people are afraid. Even though they could roar, I've never heard anybody roar around me. I just only have sheep bleating. How will I feel? How will it feel if I begin to roar? How will I feel if I'm the only one flying? How will it feel when I'm just the odd one out? No examples, no models. It's very, very important. Whatever God has put inside of you, whatever God wants you to do, somebody has done it before. You can learn from them. You can gain courage from them. You can gain strength from them to help you go that way as well. For lack of model, for lack of example, so many people's potentials have just been dormant. Lions ending up being sheep because that's the only thing they believe, they see, they know. But that's going to change for you tonight. Just like that cub growing up, heard the sound of a lion, looked at the lion and saw, oh, the sheep, every sheep is running away. I think I'm even different from these people I'm associating with. I seem more like this one that everyone is running away from. And the lion, the lioness took the cub and said, no, you are not like them. You also are like me. You can be like me. Even though you have not been like me now, you have that potential. And within a very short time, when the association changed, confidence came, boldness came, the voice came back, the roaring came back. That's the power of example, modeling. We need people that have gone ahead, that have gone that same path. They'll be very, very useful to us in guiding us, in instructing us, in showing the way, in leading the way, in having that visual possibility that, wow, this is possible. Even if the younger eagle will fly better or fly greater, the initial step of actually believing it can fly, the mother eagle will achieve that. So this is not about, following people or, trying to be like someone else. No, it's just a visual example of the possibilities that gives us a leverage, a stepping stone that we can now begin to build upon. Just like I was explaining yesterday, if you teach, a child to use computer, the child can go further, beginning to invent things. But that initial knowledge has unleashed that potential, and the child can begin to expand on that. So the eagle can now begin to learn different things on its own, to fly, and different, heights, and continue to improve upon that. But the problem is so many people cannot even start. Why? Because there is no example. There is no model. Even the problem we have at homes, in families, most often than not, is the issue of model. There's no model of a sacrificial father. There's no model of a sacrificial mother. There's no model of a home, of a marriage. There's no example. People only live based on what they see. Crisis upon crisis, giving birth to crisis. The concept of modeling, it brings about the possibility. Oh yes, so a good home is possible. So greatness in this career is possible. Oh, so success in this career is possible. You find a mechanic, toiling and struggling. But that same mechanic has the same potential as the mechanic working in Lamborghini or Porsche or Mercedes-Benz. Just needs someone to lead him in the right way, in the right path. It's the same skill, it's the same talent. But how can he expand? How can he go further? How can he go the path of making that huge success of that same talent? He needs a model. He needs someone to mentor him. He needs somebody to coach him, to guide him from the level where he is to where he ought to be. Do you know your skills, your talents, your gifts, your calling, as you have been discussing? And do you know anyone that has gone that way before? There's someone that has gone that way. No matter what you want to do, someone has done it, or someone has done something similar. Instead of starting from ground zero, you can tap into the labors, their journeys, to give you an edge in life. When you go to the countryside, you see a big field, maybe with wheat or grain, all covered up everywhere. And then, while walking through, you see a path. A path. You see a path while walking through. How does those paths get created? Those paths get created by the consistently walking, the consistent walking, the pressures of those people that have gone that way before. So when you see that field and you are confused, The easiest way for you to go through that field, just follow the path. It will show the steps of everyone that has gone before. Everyone. The step will keep putting pressure on the land so that nothing grows there. That's the same way. It's easier for us to navigate when we have someone that has gone ahead to lead us. When we have the footmarks, when we have the footprints of those that have gone ahead to help us. That cub remained a sheep, even though it had all the qualities of a lion. Why? Because the only example, the only model it had was a sheep. It was taken care by a sheep. So he ate like a sheep, behaved like a sheep, until it found the model that, wow, I have more in me than just like a sheep. And when he made contact with the lioness again, those potentials came out. They were unleashed. And the cub that was growing to become a sheep now found his potentials released. And the same cub, part of his life was living as a sheep, turned to be the lion that he was born to be. Do you know where you're going? What God has called you to do? But you are wondering, how do I get there? There is a path in that field with the steps of those that have gone before. That's the easy way to follow the paths of those that have gone before in that area. And harnessing that will give you a leverage, a place to stand, a better place to start. It's very, very hard to make a mark if there's no one to follow. The eagle was not born to fly, was not born flying. It takes the investment of the mother eagle to help that eagle to fly, even though the potential was there. By riding on the wings of those that have gone ahead, we have the leverage, we have that ability to go faster. Imagine on that part of the field I was trying to describe, if you are now trying to make your own path, you now have to step on all those plants, crushing them, making way, spending years to find a way. Somebody has already made, lots of people have already crossed that field. They've already made the mark. Their footprints are already there. We can gain speed. We can gain speed by following those paths. As long as we know that that's the path that God is calling us to do. So when we know our gifts, we know our talents, we know our calling, and we find trustworthy people that has fulfilled their own call in that area, we can learn from them. We can learn from them. And that will give us a quicker and faster journey in life. What is it that you want to do? Somebody else has done it. And they have done it successfully. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can learn from them. What is it that they did? You can read their books. How did they live? A pilot will need another pilot to start flying. The problem with so many people in life is that you have people born to be lions, and all the training they get and tutelage they get is from a sheep. Just like the story we've just heard, the potentials of a lion will not be released. Why? Because there is no model. Yes, there are so many good people, they are nice people, they are kind people. See, but they have not gone the way you want to go. Goodness will not release potential in you. The sheep was kind to this cub. They were nice, they were friendly, they were providing food, shelter, everything. But that did not release the potential of a lion. The cub needed the lioness, that potential physically unveiled for the cub to see that, wow, so, someone can roar this way, and then the lion, the cub tries it and say, wow, I think I also can do it. But in the environment of the sheep, you say, oh, everything is just calm and cool and collected. You'll be eating grass and everything. So, the potential was not released. Where there is potential, there is a need for the stirring up of those potential. And some people could be very significant in stirring those things up. It could be people you read, it could be people you listen to, it could be people that God brings your way. It could even be people you get in contact with, just virtually, just for that gift to be shared, that what I have in me is a possibility. Many years have been spent trying to invent the wheel. There are things we do in life. When we learn from our own mistakes, we don't learn anything new to do. We only learn what not to do. So if you do something and it results in failure, the lesson you get from that is what not to do. If you learn from another person's failure, if you learn from another person's failure, what you have learned is what not to do. If you are wise, they say, oh, well, somebody has failed, I'm not going to do that. Now, if you do it and you fail, what you have learned, because you have done it already, what you have learned is what not to do again. So you have still not done anything. See, but when we learn from those that have succeeded, they have already succeeded. We are learning what to do. Let me come again. When we learn from those that have failed, we learn what not to do. Oh, somebody has failed in doing this. I'm not going to do it. But there are still 1,000,001 things that one can do. So it only narrows it down by one. Now, when we do something, oh, let me try this, and then I fail, I've learned what not to do again. There are still many trials to try. Now, but when I learn from those that have succeeded, if I want to be a pilot, if I learn from a pilot that have succeeded, He has a bunch of information for me on what to do. So I'm actually making progress, not learning what not to do. I'm failing and learning what not to do. And before I know it, after 50 years, I've not actually found what to do. But when we learn from those that have succeeded, the models, those that have gone ahead, I'm actually learning what to do. We can progress. And when I succeed, I've also learned what to do again. So instead of learning and failing, trying, why don't I? Knowing that this is the area God has called me to, let me learn from those that have succeeded there. And that is the concept we are dealing with today, the concept of modeling. There is a path on the field. The path is already there. For you to see the imprints of people's, to see the footprints of people on the field, you see wheat grass on the wheat on the left, wheat on the right, and you see that path going somewhere. Somebody has already gone there and completed their journey. So if I'm now saying that, oh, I'm not going to go on this, I'm going to create my own afresh, I'm beginning to waste time, and I don't even know where that will lead. But when we know those that have succeeded, that have gone ahead, and we have examples, we can learn from them. Whatever it is that we want to be, we just need to ensure that the potential in us has been visually manifested in such people. Having credibility, having wisdom, fearing God, knowing the path that you want to go, and learning from them. It's not becoming like them. It's just releasing those potentials, just like the baby eagle learning to fly. Why? Because he has seen the mother eagle fly. Say, wow, so these my wings, they look alike. So he can take the flight to another level when he begins to fly. The lion, the cub now finds out that, wow, I also can roar. Oh, I can't be afraid. So other animals are running away from me. It becomes a stepping stone into greater things. So what is it that we are looking for? We are looking for a worthy example. People that know the way, that goes the way, and that can show the way. People of wisdom that we can learn from in the area that we want to develop. A pilot would need a pilot, because the person has already been flying. So it will be a waste of time trying to go and learn, something. It's already, the information is already there. A sailor that has been sailing, if that's the area of one's skill, one will gain speed learning from those people. Whatever calling or ministry there is, who is it that has gone before in that area? How did they achieve it? How did they succeed? Whether it's in business, what is it that they have done? And that way, we are not just trying and failing. Yes, there's failure, there's lessons in failure. But what we learn in failure are things we should not do again. There might be a number of times to fail, and they eventually might not even find what to do. But following the path of first understanding those gifts, those talents, that call, the potential, the potential within, and a tangible physical demonstration of the fulfillment of that potential gives confidence that, wow, I also can do it. I hope this is helpful for you tonight. That a cub, even though it's full of potentials to become a lion, could end up being like a sheep, living like a sheep in fear, eating grass. And actually, I think there's actually that practice. When a cub is born, some people, deliberately just take the cub away from the lioness and just begin to feed it milk. They call it taming. And you discover that that particular cub will just continue having milk and not meat. So even though the potential is there, when the example is missing, when the environment is missing, the potentials can remain dormant and never know fulfillment. But it's my prayer tonight that that shall not be any of our portions, but we shall come to the realization of what we need to be, what we ought to be, and that God will send people our way to guide us, to instruct us, to show us that possibility, to empower us. That yes, you are more than this. You are not a sheep. You are more than this. The concept of modeling. I'll do a quick recap of all we have learned so far. We started by looking at the concept of intentionality. To grow our potential, we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional in growing our potential. And day two, we looked at the concept of self-awareness in growing our potential. Day three, we looked at the concept of environment in growing our potential. And today, we're looking at the concept of modeling, example, a guide to help us, to guide us. We've not been through the way before. Somebody is there to lead us, to guide us. It makes the journey much, much easier. When we know the area that God is leading us into, we can find people, reputable people, godly people that can lead us in that way, that can help us, that we can see as models that, oh, this is possible. This is possible. If you are still struggling, knowing that you have something more within, it's time to begin to pray about that fact that God leads you to that company of people that are going that way, that are following that path. The path that have already been laid down, the footsteps that are already on the ground, that just needs to be followed. Many people are frustrated because they are trained and helped by good people. But the good person may not necessarily have what it takes to unleash the potentials they've got. You see, a good carpenter, good enough as might seem, cannot help a pilot because he's not been that way before. He needs a pilot to guide him. The same way in business, the same way in ministry, the same way in any area of life. The carpenter is good, but the problem is he cannot fly. So all he can make of that person, the skills he can give, the environment he can give, is what he has. You need something to trigger those potentials within you. Something you can see. Something you can latch onto. Something that is like you. Something that has been done before. And it is my prayer that you will find it. It is my prayer that you will find it. That lioness that needs to come, that lion that needs to come to say, oh, this is where you belong. This is where you need to be. You don't have to be scared. There is something in you that needs unleashing. You will find that help. That is my prayer. God bless.